Hi there, folks. My name is NovaWing24, and welcome to another little review of a Microsoft Flight Simulator product. So today we're going to be having a look at this fun, nifty little trainer aircraft, courtesy of Aero Simulations, the Grob Aviation Grob Tutor G115E. So first off, before we get too far into this, I do want to say a huge thank you to Orbix and to Aero Simulations for providing the review copy of this aircraft today. And what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to do pretty much our standard review process. We're going to go through, we're going to have a look at the model here. We're then going to jump in, do a cold and dark start, go for a bit of a test flight, put her through her paces, and then give some final thoughts. All right, so as we continue, as we sort of circling around this aircraft here, we're getting a sample of what it is. So this is an interesting little aircraft here. So it's designed as a primary trainer aircraft, and it's a little bit of as a GA aircraft, but primarily it was always designed as a trainer aircraft with side-by-side seating. Though it is capable of some aerobatic maneuvers. Now, originally, the original variation of the aircraft saw limited success and sold mostly to German-based flight schools and high companies. However, it wasn't until the updated G115 D2 and E variants, or the Heron and the Tutor variants of the aircraft, which meant this aircraft saw large-scale success. In that way, it actually saw success then because it was chosen by the UK's Ministry of Defence and the UK's Royal Air Force as their primary trainer or accessible trainer for the university air squadrons and the air experience flights, and as a path towards entry for aircrew for military aviation. And that actually plays into a lot of the design features of the 115E for this one, as we're going to see once we jump into the cockpit, because it's definitely something that's going to be a little unusual for many of you, of many of the civilian pilots in this genre. But anyway. All right, so it's a aircraft powered by a Lycoming air-cooled engine. So we skip around the front there. So it's not stupidly powerful, but it is an aircraft that's still got designed there for it, and actually we've still got a little bit of get up and go in it. Primarily, though, it is designed for stability, especially as it is a trainer aircraft. And you can see that sort of in the design with the very almost glider-like design with the wingspan the aircraft has, which of course is very suitable to the particular livery that we are flying in when we're doing our test flight here today. Fixed tricycle undercarriage for this aircraft as well. So again, it's very basic. It's designed to be a docile airframe and something that's easily graspable for students and accessible, and allow them to get their first steps into the larger world of aviation. And of course, that is much like what we do here in virtual aviation as well. All right, so, but yeah, as we've gone through here, you can see we've got this beautiful, highly detailed model here. All the lines, everything looks right. The liveries there's a number of liveries that are included with this one, focusing primarily on its service with the UK and the MOD under the private government partnership. But we do have a number of civilian and fictional examples included with this one here. I couldn't find any reference to find out whether this livery was actually real or not, or whether this is fictional. But I tell you what, I saw it and went, yeah, we're totally going to be doing the review in this one. Yeah, sorry, Orbix. Yeah, the Orbix livery that's in there lost out to this one because it's a dragon. It's cool. So yeah, we've gone through, as I said, highly detailed model. We can see here all the details in the exhaust as well. But let's, now that we've looked at the outside model, let's jump into the office and check it out. And yes, there's a reason why we're coming in to this side of the airframe. Alright, so here we are in the office of this aircraft, and you might notice that we might seem to be like we're in the wrong seat. We are not. We are in the correct seat. So this is the student seat, or the solo operations seat, this one. So you may have noticed, in many other, in pretty much virtually all other civilian aircraft, fixed-wing aircraft anyway, the pilot command sits on the left-hand seat. For this aircraft, it's actually not. It's actually the right-hand seat. Now, part of that is to do with the fact that it is the E model is targeted towards military flight training and or sort of large aircraft training where you have to be able to be competent with the controls from both seats. And that's due to the fact that your actual throttle controls here are then by your left and you have a stick in the center here. So this provides an easier transition for pilots who might be moving on to fast jets or other sort of single-seat military aircraft where that is a standard setup with the throttle on the left and the stick in the center. So an interesting design choice and something to be aware of that does, it definitely did throw me the first time. I remember actually reviewing this aircraft for a legacy sim, and it did throw me a little bit when I sort of sat into it first time, when then I did a bit more reading and found out why. So yeah, there you go. And again, kind of cool that it does that. So FYI. So this is, as I was saying before, this is the Grob G115E variant. So this one does have it's a fairly basic sort of cockpit setup. It does have some limited sort of modern avionics, including a GPS system, but it is a very basic GPS system, which, as you can see there, is designed for VFR support only. So none of your moving map display fancy shenanigans in this one. This one is very much a basic airframe for this one here. Otherwise, many of the mod cons or many of the basic cons we've got here, we've got a basic 6, as well as standard gauges through for the analog systems. Basic radio stacker, which we'll see in operation as well a little bit later in the video. In terms of other features of the cockpit, pretty much it does what it says on the tin. These are all the basic things you'll see in any GA aircraft. As you may have noticed, though, when we were outside, the cockpit is a sliding overhead canopy cockpit, which can be controlled from here, and we'll shut that prior to starting the aircraft and latched into place there. Okay. All right, so let's go through our startup procedure. So we've got our check, we've got our parking brake set. All right, we're going to go battery is on. We're going to push our prop pitch forward. Okay, we're going to turn. Also, by the way, folks, the propeller is fully animated, by the way. So you can actually see the propeller being fully animated. So just FYI, it does actually do that. All right, let's turn our fuel on. Okay, fuel is open. Fuel tank set to both. Okay. Fuel pump is set to on. Mixture is set to full rich. All right. Throttle is cracked. Feet on the anchors. All right. Magnetos set to both. And depress starter. Engine catch. Nice little hum of the prop there. And I will just open this up. Unfortunately, this is probably one of the few things I did notice with this one is that the sound volume doesn't change whether you have the cockpit open or closed. So, not a huge thing because it is designed to be flown with the canopy shut. But yeah, it's just something I did notice. Yeah, there is an audible change. It's just a very minimal audible change is what it is. So just, again, small thing, just one of the things that I did notice. All right, now that we've got our aircraft started up, let's go generator, finish our pre-takeoff checklist. Oh, that was bad of me. I didn't turn our strobe lights on, red beacon strobe lights on before engine start. It was very naughty of me. All right, so we've got our battery master on, generator alternators on, avionics master turn on. All right. Nav lights on, pitot heat on, landing light on, or taxi. All right, we're going to turn our transponder on. There we go. Search for VFR. All right, we'll turn our GPS power on. As I said, it is a very basic GPS. It does have several modes, but again, as I said, it is a very, very basic GPS here. So it goes through nearest airports. So we do have a flight plan planned. We're going to do shoot and miss approach as we do our circuit here today to be able to practice some of our radio nav, and then we've got our start end points coming through there, and that's pretty much about it, and our current location. So we're going to leave that set to our lat long and a time showing there. All right, I think that's pretty much, as I said, it's a pretty basic setup, this one. So there's nothing sort of huge that you're going to notice here, but it is something just to show everything off that it does work. All right, so I think there's time for us to start our taxi. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn, I've got my feet on the anchors. We're going to release the parking brake. All right, now I'm going to put in a little bit of right rudder because we're going to need that. Now we're going to Gently push the throttles forward. Because the engine does mean that the aircraft its nose tends to go to the left while when power is applied. So that is something to be aware of. And try not to compensate, or try, you have to be good to compensate for it, and be careful that you don't overcompensate for it. So get that, because I'll need that for the takeoff roll. Now, our diddle test flight today is going to be in Brisbane, in Queensland, Australia. I know it's a bit far from home from where the livery is, but it's my old stomping grounds, and I wanted to have an excuse to go back here and shoot an approach into Brisbane. So what we're going to do is we're taking off from a small little GA and flight school field in the city of Redcliffe. And so we're going to be taking off from here. We're then going to shoot an approach, do a missed approach at Brisbane International. And then we'll come back here, go over the water, do a couple of maneuvers, and then come back here into Redcliffe to finish off the video. Alright. We're going to go flaps set for takeoff. Alright, taking the runway. Nice quiet day today. Alright, takeoff trims are set. Alright, looking good. Alright, flaps set, takeoff trim set. Lights all set, ready for takeoff. Alright, I believe we are good to go. Throttling up. Brakes off. You can see that bit of right boot in as airspeed, the power builds and airspeed builds. Gently just letting it curve a little bit. More rudder authority. Gently back on the stick. Into the air she goes. Nose up, maintaining 80 knots for the climb. Clean up. There we go. Okay, we can bring up to about 2% for our cruise. Up to around about 2,000 feet. So the aircraft, as I said, it's much in some ways it kind of feels like a slightly more advanced version of the Jabiru. Sort of, we've seen the Jabiru from Iris simulations before, giving us a great sports light aircraft simulation. This feels like the next step up from that, which gives us a bit more. There's a bit more power in the engine here. Got lower set wings and more avionics sort of set in here, but it still is a good stepping stone towards whatever you want to fly. It does get a little, as I said, it's still, even every now and again, does still throw me a little bit that I'm sort of flying from the right-hand seat. That does sort of throw me a little bit every now and again. But as I said, it's one of those interesting things that physically, though, the way my cockpit is set up, for example, in on my desk here, I am controlling the throttle and the prop pitch with my left hand, so it actually makes sense in some ways. Stabilizing here. Now, this is another aircraft, by the way, folks. If you're expecting this one to have an autopilot, where something that you can we can just like set it and sort of let it do it itself. Unfortunately, you're going to be sorely disappointed by that one. So this is like many of the aircraft that I love. This is an aircraft that you have to actually fly. You are hands-on and flying this aircraft the whole time. Fortunately, the Grob from Iris simulations, much like the Grob in real life, is a very docile airframe. So once you've got her trimmed out, she will pretty much happily just purr away at any attitude and any altitude. You have no problem at all. So yeah, if you're expecting that, if you're sort of like a press button flyer and sort of just sit back, then this may not be an aircraft for you. As I said, you do actually have to sort of be actively involved and actively engaged with your aircraft, just keeping an eye on everything and make sure everything's fine. But overall, she trims out very, very nicely. Like, I am currently hands off my controls right now. So I'm trimmed out in a slight climb, but holding an easterly heading at the moment. So there you go. As I said, nice and simple, nice and easy, beautiful aircraft to fly. It does what it says on the tin, I guess is the best way to do it. All right, what we might do is we've gone through, we've talked about a lot of the content here inside the cockpit here. So let's jump outside the cockpit. Let's just jump outside. Let's have a look at the airframe in a bit more detail now that we are in the sky. So here we are over beautiful Moreton Bay, and a great sort of watching this beautiful big Welsh dragon just soaring over the skies here. As I said, like the textures that are supplied with this aircraft are pretty damn cool, pretty damn awesome. A lot of detail went in there as well, like, they can see the engine sort of exhaust and soot marks and things like that. But overall, yeah, it really does sort of capture a lot of that beautiful depth of modeling that aero simulations are known for, and very much the aircraft is very much at home in this sim. Now, originally, by the way, folks, this aircraft was originally released, sort of I did allude to it earlier, was originally released for legacy sims, originally released for FSX and Prepared, but it has been sort of migrated and updated and brought over to the new sim. So, so it is a port over, but it's an updated port, as it were. So it's not sort of just sort of slapped in or forced in. It's actually given us in a beautiful high detail, and sort of the model's been given a full overhaul to be able to bring it up to the new standards. So there you go. So that's it. Like the model looks good, looks even better in the air than it does on the ground. Nice and docile, beautiful, simple, and a wonderful aircraft to fly. All right. So what we might do is now that we've seen what it looks like on the inside and the outside, let's jump back in the office and see what it's like at night. So the night lighting for this aircraft is both basic and well done. So first off is that we have the dimmer, so the panel lighting, sort of just on the side panels, so pretty standard there. You then also have instrument lighting. So there's a control knob for these, but also a switch. So you sort of turn the switch on for a start, and then actually rotate those through here to actually give your individual instruments, a bit of illumination. What you also have as well, and that one interestingly enough triggers your sort of automatic flashlight if you have that set up automatically. The other one that's fairly powerful is this one, the full cockpit map lighter, which is a beautiful sort of beautiful, creepy sort of but yeah, interesting bright red, sort of not bright red but dull red light that sort of illuminates the entire cockpit. It is on dimmer switch, but realistically, it only has it's really actually a binary. It's an on or an off, is all it has. But it's red, by the way, to help you preserve your night vision from out of here. And that's kind of about it. Yeah, that's pretty much about it for the night lighting. As I said, night lighting is fairly basic for this one. Testing your warning lights up the top there, and yeah, that's kind of about it. As I said, is it fancy? No. Does it do what it says on the tin? Yes. Much like much of this aircraft. So there you go. All right. With that, let's go back to the daytime. All right. So as we've come back in here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming in. We're going to do a missed approach on the ILS to a runway 19 right here at Brisbane International. So to brought up the frequencies here, so 109.3 is the frequency. So this controls our nav 1 and this controls our nav 2. I want to do them both so you can see them both actually working. So that's my nav 1 set and my nav 2 radio set. So that should... Nope, okay, nope. Let's try that again. 109.3. There we go. It helps if you tune the right frequency. Nova. There we go. Okay. We're going to be following this QantasLink flight in on approach here. Now I've set nav 1 there. We've got a little DME distance notification information here. So you can set that between navigation 1, navigation 2, radio, or GPS. And to show that that works, so it's going to switch it over to GPS. For example, it shows me 8.9 nautical miles to the waypoint, which is the center of Brisbane International Airport. Now, I can see here that right now I am a little... There we go, coming on to track. But I am way above glide slope, so I'm going to need to descend below the glide slope. Little to the right of tracks, let's bring it back. Okay, so glide slope is alive, and we are on slope. Alright, bring power back. Landing light on. I'm going to leave the power up a little higher than I probably would if so leave the power up. We'll bring that power back down very shortly. We kick our flaps in. Alright, a little below the slope now. I'm just trimming back up. There we are, on slope. Alright, first notch of flaps in, landing lights on. Okay. Oh, drop way below the slope there. I wasn't paying enough attention. Landing assured. Second flaps in. Let's climb back up. Get us recapture that glide slope. I was too focused on my left and right, and I missed the glide slope info. So there we go. So you've got to be careful you don't chase the needle too much at this point because we're getting a bit close. Rails down and power up. Flaps take off. That's cleaned up. So you get a sense that, as I said, like, so I just wanted to show off that the nav system is functional with nav 1 to show that it does work and you can actually sort of practice your instrument approaches. Because, as I said, this aircraft is very much designed as a training aircraft. So she's very docile, very easy to handle, very easy to recover if you make a mistake. Just being able to correct those machines correct that approach and be able to keep everything in a safe format of flight. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn right, we're going to break out of this pattern here, and we're going to go back out over the water, and we're going to do a couple of practice maneuvers that I know some of the viewers here do enjoy us giving a try. So we'll do those very shortly. So let's finish this clear out of the approach path, and then we'll come back and have a play with some of the maneuvers here in the skies. Just as we head up to our safe altitude to do a couple of maneuvers here, I did just want to highlight one of the small bugbears that I have with this aircraft. So one of the things that you would have seen, you'll notice here in the cockpit and on the outside here, is the registration is fixed. So this particular airframe, the airframe that we're flying is G-Dragon. There's a number of liveries that get included in this one, including ones for the Royal Air Force and the Royal Navy University Air Squadrons and the primary trainers. There's also some civilian ones included as well, including an Orbix tribute and an Iris House Colours one. One of the things that, and while I don't expect customizable registrations on all of them, particularly the historically accurate liveries, like the University Air Squadrons one, I do kind of expect it on at least some of the house colours and the generic sort of civilian registration ones. So again, it's not a huge deal breaker, but it is something that is just noticeable. So for example, like Just Flight, for example, Just Flight do with their aircraft for their Arrow and their Warrior series, they do a number of liveries that are historically accurate, that are real life liveries with fixed registrations. Then they also include one where you can do your own custom registration. So is it a deal breaker for me? Absolutely not. However, it is just one of those things that would be nice if maybe a future update we could see one where we do see a customized registration. Is it a huge deal? No. Would it be nice to have? Yes. And again, there's probably another one as well to point out. I did notice that the pilot models are fixed and determined, defined by the model rather than using the Asobo ones. I'm okay with that in this particular aircraft because most of these liveries are for air training, and they do have custom helmets which you wouldn't have, which we don't see on the default Asobo model. So I'm okay with that because the aircraft is required to wear helmets while flying. So there you go. Just wanted to cover those couple of points off while we head up to our cruise altitude, or our display altitude. Alrighty, so here we are up at 5,000 feet in a sort of fairly docile, not fairly docile, but fairly traffic-free area for a bit of training here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a steep turn, which I know some of my you viewers do enjoy seeing aircraft like that, put that through its paces. Now this can be interesting, so let's give it a go. So we're just a little over 5,000 feet at the moment. So of course AM is trying to a 360-degree turn with losing or gaining minimal altitude. So let's see how far we can push this airframe while doing that one. Alright, so watching the altitude. 60-degree angle of bank. Losing a little bit of altitude there, but not much. Definitely able to control that. And we're going to roll back out on 330. Okay, go. So she handles a 60-degree angle of bank very, very well. A little bit of rudder in to keep the altitude in check, but overall handled that really, really well. Alright, now this is the one that, when I was practicing this, got me a little bit. Okay, so this is stalls. I am not a huge fan of practicing stalls, and this one is interesting. Alright, so, here we go. So we're going to do configured. Alright, so do our safety check. Height sufficient for recovery. Probably doing overpopulated area, which you probably shouldn't be doing. but let's see how we go. Hopefully we'll recover it. All right. Altitude hold. All right. So throttling back, flaps out. Okay. Flaps 2. Trimming up, nose up, holding the altitude, pulling the stick back. Airspeed decaying, airspeed decaying. Now watch for the stall. There's the horn. And she holds it quite well before she suddenly goes. There she goes. Okay. Rudder, counter, throttle up, pull forward, flaps up. Okay, lost around about 5. We lost about 1,000 feet. Okay, I know I recovered it in less than that before, so that one did throw me a little bit. But I have, during my initial testing, I did recover that in less than 1,000 feet. It's the violent, sharp roll that you get as she departs controlled flight. That's the one that gets me for that. I can only imagine what that's like in VR. So, but yes, the stall absolutely happens with this airframe. All right, but she holds on the edge of that stall envelope. She holds for a really long time, and again, it goes to the credit of the design of the real life airframe, and of course the airframe here in the sim as well. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this opportunity to now head back down to our airfield down there in Redcliffe. We'll come in, we'll do our approach and landing, and then once we're on the ground, we'll give our final thoughts. So let's position ourselves for our landing. The aircraft does have some limited aerobatic capability. However, she does not enjoy a full loop. She will do an aileron roll fairly well, and hold her altitude fairly well. But if you try and loop her, she will stall out at the top of the loop, and the recovery for that is kind of terrifying. So I don't recommend it. Alright, we're just approaching now here into Redcliffe as we fly crosswind to go and turn into our downwind leg, coming into pattern altitude here, 1,000 feet. A little bit closer here, going to get a little bit more runway separation going on here. Kind of cut the corner off that a little bit, I think. Okay. As a interesting random story, my first ever half marathon that I raced was actually along that foreshore over there. It's a random little Nova fact for everybody watching this video. Yeah, we ran from the jetty down the point down there, all the way up to the boat ramp up there, and then back again. Yeah, it was rather interesting. It was cold and wet that day. Anyway, all right. So as we extend our downwind here, we're going to go fly to our turn crosswind. Sorry, to turn onto our base. We've done crosswind, turning onto our base leg, throttling back, first stage flaps. Start to lose that altitude a little bit. Our base leg, slow that descent a little bit. And turning onto final. You can, I found that I at least tend to have a habit of cutting some of the corners of some of my maneuvers here with this aircraft. And I think part of it is to do with the position of your seating, of sort of where you sit in the aircraft. It does take a little bit of getting used to. I mean, even for somebody like myself who's used mostly to a lot of single engine aircraft, particularly to Mil Air, flying from the right-hand seat for fixed wing is a little odd sometimes. All right, so it's going to bring our throttles down. Landing flaps set to landing. Watching the good old Microsoft trees on short final. power. Coming down good there. Whoop. Riding the store horn and ease back the throttle. Gently descend onto the runway. There we go. And nose gear down. Little squirrely with the nose wheel steering as we come down. Alright, as we exit the runway, we'll clean the aircraft up. Yeah, very, very squirrely, those toe brakes. Alright. And exit the runway, and we'll head back to our parking, shut the aircraft down, and give our final thoughts on the Grob G115E. Alright, here we are, all parked up. Okay, so parking brake is set. Drop forward and mixture fuel cutoff. Closed fuel. Done. Engine spinning down. Alright, then we're going to do our pitot heats off. Turn our mags set to off. Nav lights off. And then generators, avionics, and battery master off. Now, funny, interesting enough that this happened actually. So this is interesting because this is one of the random bugbears that I found with this aircraft, is that when you shut down the avionics, what it will do is it seems to load the external LOD model into where you're parked. I can't explain it. It's just, that's just what it does. And yeah, it's really weird. It only seems to happen when you shut the aircraft down and you hit the avionics master switch off. That's the only time it seems to happen. Because if we now go do this, so we jump outside and we can see, yep, okay, there's our pilots. There they are. That's the external LOD model, so LOD 1 model. Then if we jump back inside again, we can see it's cleared up instantly. So I don't know what it is. It's something weird, but it's something that I observed, and I'm glad I caught it on film, and I wanted to show you. Is this a deal breaker? Not really, but it's just something weird that happens with that. So anyway, all right. Now that I've shown that, let's now go have a look and finish off our review. Alright, so there we are. We've done our demo flight of the Grob G115E from Aero Simulations, and what do we think? Well, look, overall, it's not a bad aircraft. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. It is a highly versatile trainer aircraft that is both docile, easy to learn, but sometimes challenging to master, particularly with the less familiar avionics that it carries, with a more very basic GPS system, no autopilot, so you are going to be controlling this aircraft the whole way through. So in that regard, I think there is a lot to be said for this aircraft, that if you're looking at being more engaged and involved with your aircraft, this could be an aircraft that you may want to pick up. The modeling is great. The textures externally are great. So some of the internal textures could do a little cleanup. And really the only major bug that I've really found in that is the one that we saw just before at the end there, where when shutting the aircraft down, you get this weird sort of instancing of the LOD modeling. Other than that, as I said, it flies really, really well. It's a great aircraft if you're looking for that sort of next step up sort of in your experience, especially if you're maybe somebody, especially perhaps somebody living in the UK or in Australia, where this is your local aircraft that you actually see and do flight training in. In that regard, for many who do, for example, the university air squadrons, the air experience flights in the UK, this is going to be the aircraft that you are going to be flying when you do those flights with the cadet force or as part of university. So in that way, there's a lot of nostalgia going on there with that one, and it is just a really nice, beautiful aeroplane to fly. The cons and the down points, as I sort of said before, are really the only one I can sort of point to is that weird sort of modeling instance issue with that one. Other than that, really great rendition of a quirky little aeroplane. As I said, like this is an aeroplane that doesn't have a lot of. It has some civilian sort of appearance, but mostly the 115E variant that we see here is mostly a military aircraft. So, and much to do with the fact that as a pilot in command, you're actually sitting on the right hand seat, which can be a little disconcerting every now and again. And every now and again as well. So there you go. But overall, I think this aircraft provides great value for money. Gives you a great option and a great new step to discover some more hands-on sort of flying with this aircraft with some truly great paint schemes. Well, folks, that does round out my review for the Grob G115E from Aero Simulations. So as we round this out, I do want to say a huge thank you to Aero Simulations and Orbix for providing me with the review copy of this aircraft to bring to you. And folks, that does round out the review now. Thank you very much for watching. If you do want to pick this one up, you can pick this one up either direct from the Iris store or from Orbix Direct, available now. And with that, folks, that rounds this review up. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by following me on Facebook and on Twitter and on Twitch. Just search NovaWing24. All right, folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.